Hello and welcome back to the Padawan podcast, Apocalypse Movies All Star Wars podcast, where we break down everything from the galaxy far, far away, including film, TV, comic books, novels, and much, much more. Maybe theories and discussions was what we're focusing on today. We're going to be talking about a topic that I've wanted to talk about personally for quite a while because it is a big debate in the world of Star Wars. What we want the next 5 years of Star Wars to look like. Now, the way it's going to work is we're going to go around the table and we're going to pitch our ideas basically, and then we're going to talk about them. I have both Jacob, a.k.a. Grandma Bartley, with me, as well as Brian Avellino, the silent assassin himself. And we're kind of going to just go through, talk about our own personal ideas and what we want to see quickly, give as much detail as possible, and then kind of discuss it and go on from there. So to kick this off, I'm going to let Jacob go first because he's got notes right in front of him, ready to go. I know he's wanting to talk about this one, so go ahead, man. What does the next 5 years of Star Wars look like for you? What do you want to see?
Well, starting tomorrow, I'm picking up Solo on Blu-ray.
I think all three of us are, yeah.
That's how the next 5 years of Star Wars is going to start for me, is at least watching it twice this week. We'll see if I can do that. But no, for me, look, there's a lot going on with Star Wars, a lot of potential going on with the streaming service at Disney, with Disney XD, with the films, a bunch of stuff in the works that we don't know are official yet. We know
there's so much behind
is coming
the
out
scenes
for sure.
Yeah.
We know Favreau's is coming out for sure, and we know Episode 9 is coming out for sure.
The Clone Wars is being revived.
And Clone Wars, and that's pretty much everything that's like 100% we know what's coming.
Well, did you say Rian Johnson's trilogy?
Well, we know it's coming. We don't know what it is, though.
And we don't know when either.
We don't know if it's official either. They can change their mind.
I don't know if they're going to leave Rian Johnson behind.
I don't think they will. But I'm just saying, like, we don't know what that is. We can't envision it. All these other things, we know exactly
like what's on the board right now. That's all we know.
For me, like, if you were to ask me, what is the number one thing you want to see in these next 5 years? And a lot of people are focused on the TV and the streaming. But for me,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, it's hard because here's the thing. I mean, yes, you're probably thinking of the Obi-Wan movie, but I do have that mentioned. But for me, I want to see a continuation of the episodic movies. I think that a lot of fans and even Disney and Lucasfilm are thinking about taking a long break from the episodic movies, and I don't want that. I want at least, I'm not saying in another 2 years, episode 10. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying maybe on the back end of this 5-year plan, 2022, 2023, I want to see episode 10.
Get a creative team together with one director to do 3 movies.
Yes, like absolutely. And honestly, I wouldn't even mind if it's J.J. Abrams. Like, just let him do it.
I love what he does with Star Wars, personally.
I think there's a lot you can do with Rey, and I know a lot of people were talking about the Jedi Order in this movie, but that's a little too quick of a turnaround.
Yeah, I think so too.
You can wait, 4 years after Episode 9, and then say that 10 years have passed. It's a 10-year gap.
They did it with Attack of the Clones.
And Rey and a couple other people rebuilt the Jedi Order in a new vision, in a new way. I want to see, a temple. I want to see a gathering, a Jedi Order, a group of people like in Episode 1, like a different version, a new era version of that.
Yeah.
And I want to see, maybe Poe and Finn, if they make it out, they kind of rebuilt the military and the government and stuff like that. And then I don't want Kylo to die. A lot of people are predicting that he's going to die, and a lot of people they want him to die. I think they're all crazy. Kylo is the best character in the new Star Wars movies, in my opinion. And
agreed.
There's a gold mine in his character and what you can explore. I don't want him to become good necessarily, but he's going to be defeated in this movie. And I want him to go away and hide, and kind of like Luke did, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And kind of maybe find an apprentice or something like that and rise back up again. And it's maybe the next trilogy, instead of the Resistance challenging the First Order, is Kylo and challenging.
It's from his point of view.
Exactly. And I just, that's kind of what I want if I got one choice. But absolutely, I want the Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan in some medium, some type of form.
I 100% agree.
It doesn't have to be a solo movie. It can be another movie he's a big part of, or it can show up in television.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, those will be my main 2 things that I really want to see.
So you think that Rey's just going to come out of this all hunky-dory, ready to start a new Jedi Order?
Wait, are you saying Episode 9 or the new saga?
Episode 9, because, I mean, if you're saying episode 10, she's going to make it out, she's going to start a new Jedi Order, so she's going to wrap this thing up with the bow?
Not necessarily. I think there's going to be some loss. There's going to be a conclusion to the war, to this war, in episode 9, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some loss, but I think
I'm not even convinced she makes it out of the 9th movie.
I think Rey's just like, damn, that was tough. You know, we made it out. We barely won. We had some losses, but it's time to move on. And there's a hint towards her really focusing on the Jedi aspect of it.
I do think that there is... The hunky-dory is a great term, by the way. I will say that I think there's a little backing to that just because there will be a big gap from when episode 8 took place and this movie.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a good-sized time jump where she has plenty of time to learn and maybe grow something a little different.
She has those books for a reason.
Yeah.
How long?
I'm going to say no less than 2 years.
Really?
I think it's going to be no less than real time. I want something like 4 or 5 years personally. I would love to see a good time jump because it would allow us to see how they've gotten over the loss of Luke, and it would make his return.
Oh, now you're on the Luke's gone?
Well, if you listen to what I have to say, it would make his return into everything so much more impactful to those characters because of the time that's taken place. I like where you're headed with that, though. I will say that I don't want the episode, the movies to end either, but here's where I kind of differ. I do think Kylo's going to die. I think it will be in a very, very powerful way, but I don't think the episodic movies are gonna stop because they said the Skywalker saga ends. What if Kylo dies and they continue with Rey and something else? It's no longer the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. Well, Kathleen Kennedy did say they have more adventures planned with Rey, Poe, and Finn.
Yes.
Just almost said Foe and Finn, whatever.
Foe and Finn.
But she didn't mention Kylo, but I mean, you wouldn't really say we have more adventures planned with Kylo. Like,
I think,
you wouldn't say that.
Like you said, Kylo's such a rich character. He's going to be used in some form down the line, whether it's a novel, comic book, maybe a TV show about how he became who he is.
Yeah.
Do an Adam Driver TV show with the Knights of Ren. Like, how did he form the Knights of Ren? How cool would that be?
Like, right after the he destroyed the temple.
Like young Kylo coming into the dark side. How is Snoke involved? That gives us more Snoke, like that type of stuff. Because the news with the streaming service and not just Star Wars, but the news that they're doing with Marvel has opened the door for so many more possibilities in this universe.
That's what makes me think they might tackle Obi-Wan in that format.
Which I would personally like more because it's fleshing everything out.
Even if it's just 6 episodes, like, that's cool. 8
cool
episodes.
With that. I'm totally cool with that.
But for me, I don't, it's kind of, I'm not going to say I'm going to be disappointed if they kill Kylo. Like, I have to take what they give me and evaluate it. I'm not going to be like, F this movie if they kill Kylo. But
I will.
I just personally, I don't want him to die. You don't have to focus on the Skywalkers. Look, he's going to be the last Skywalker bloodline left. And he doesn't have to be like the leader of the First Order or whatever the case may be. You can be focusing on him other way. He's going to go hide and do some Sith studying or something like that.
I want him to be banished. Oh, I should stop.
No, you wait until you're.
Or maybe they capture him and just lock him up, and then like.
Could you imagine how effing crazy he would get if he was locked up?
That's what I'm saying. Like they bury him, kind of like Magneto's hidden in Days of Future Past, something like that, because you cannot restrain him under regular bars, obviously. So you just bury him in some planet, locked up deep down, and he
just abandon him on his own planet.
Somehow, like 10 years later, somebody breaks him out.
Yeah, you pull a Captain Kirk from Star Trek with J.J. Abrams, where they dropped him on a planet and left him to die. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could you imagine? And him getting off.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah,
and then somebody comes in.
No, Spock did it to Captain Kirk.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want Kylo. Basically, this turned into. I want Kylo.
We apologize for that.
I want Kylo to be involved somewhere in the next.
Do you want him to be the focal point?
It's hard to be the focal point when you're a evil person.
Yeah.
When you're a bad guy, like he's.
BS.
We are seeing a Joker movie. They're doing a villain-centered movie.
All over the place.
Well, it's villain. Like you could possibly see, and like I said, you could see him rise to power. Because Infinity War was essentially a Thanos movie.
That might be a more interesting story to see him because there's more to tell. Because then he's still conflicted. Right now, at the end of Last Jedi, he's straight bad.
And we know if it was to take place in the past, we know the end game of where he ends up. So we want to know how he got there.
Yeah.
And the streaming service for Disney could be the door that opens everything for it.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Luke, the relationship from him being a kid to...
Yeah, see him grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty... Like, see the turmoil in him as he kind of grows. The darkness that rises in a way. That'd be very interesting. I like where you're headed with all this stuff, man. Do you have anything else to add before we move on?
I mean, on that, no. I mean, I have a couple other ideas that I want for the next 5 years, but they're separate from that. So, all right, we know... I already talked about Obi-Wan, so I'm going to leave that alone. But we know TV is going to be a focus going forward. Yep. And regardless of TV film, I think they need to not shy away from the Jedi and the Force.
I agree.
You want that more?
Yes, I want them to focus on the Jedi and the Force. Not on everything, not in every TV show and every movie, but do not shy away from it. That's what makes Star Wars Star Wars. There are other franchises where there's space battles and military wars and stuff like that. Star Wars has the Force, and that's what makes it unique.
Well, and we've never seen...
So don't shy away from it.
Like, we saw the Jedi Order in the prequels, obviously, but it was more about the political point of view with everything. And I think showing the Jedi Order as the focal point would be extremely interesting because it's just Jedi. Yeah. It's not Padme, who's a political figure. It's not the bad guys who aren't Force users, like that type of stuff. Yeah. And so I think it'd be very interesting to have them as the center
point. And even in the prequels, they had to join the war and become generals. And we never really saw the Jedi of what they planned or meant to be, which were peacekeepers. Who threw down when they had to. So I just don't want them to turn away. I could easily see them just say, like, let's...
Clone Wars. A little bit.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. But I just mean on all fronts, like, and this kind of ties into my next two things is, like, you know, give the fans what they want to a certain extent. I feel like a lot of people feel this way too, is that, I don't think he did it on purpose, but Rian Johnson kind of went completely opposite of what people wanted.
He went AWOL.
I don't think he did it on purpose, but that's just what his film ended up being. Give the fans a little bit of, little gifts here and there, and then also don't shy away from canon outside of the movies. Like, implement some, just like you did Maul and Solo. Like, it doesn't have to be in our face in the forefront, but give some of those people who have invested in the comics and the books, and things like that, a couple of gifts as well. Like, don't, because I kind of feel like they came out and said everything's canon. I almost feel like they only did that as a way to sell all those other materials because they haven't
connected as much
as into the movies yet. So it's like that's the reason why we listen to all those audiobooks or read those books, is so we can see those connections in the movies. And just so pretty much continue the episodic films. Don't shy away from the Force and the Jedi, and don't shy away from the extra canon stuff like the books and the comics.
I like it, man. I like where you're headed. All right, Brian. I know you got some crazy ideas headed up in that head of yours, man. What do you got?
I know you're going to go off when I say this. I want more focus on the bad guys.
That's fine.
I think Star Wars has some of the best bad guys and stories in all of universal, what do you want to call it?
Storytelling?
Storytelling.
That's a good word.
Even, like... from as far back as Knights of the Old Republic to as new as what's going on, there are amazing villains that need to have their due. Whether it's in movie or TV, or I'll even take like the animation like Rebels.
So you want to see it on screen more so than in comics and novels? Is that what you're hearing?
I don't. Okay. I love the novels. They're great. But I like to see it in my... Yeah,
visually. I see visually, it's different. Yeah, it's totally different.
Don't get me wrong. I am loving every ounce of Thrawn. You can throw absolutely anything with him, and I'll eat it up. But it leaves me wanting more. And especially these big villains like Thrawn, that is the type of character I need to see in a movie. But... as far as, like, the Old Republic villains and stuff, like, I would love an Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic type book. I think that would be awesome. I would love to see that in comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I think people would eat that up like no other if they had comic books for Knights of the Old Republic.
It's Game of Thrones on pages basically in
Yeah.
Star Wars.
So that kind of leads me to my other one is I would like them to go backwards.
I think you're getting it. Benioff
think?
and Weiss, the writers of Game of Thrones, I guarantee you they're doing a Game of Thrones style TV
That's
show.
perfect.
Or movie, excuse
Good.
me. 100% because that is their forte. That is
Good.
why.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that is exactly why they brought them on board. They were like, we love Game of Thrones. I want you to do Game of Thrones in
It's a
Star
perfect
Wars.
fit.
Perfect. I get chills.
I like that
thinking
it's
about it.
movies though too because they've already done.
They can
TV.
expand.
Give them a chance on films,
Exactly.
and they said they're doing a series of films.
Well, and Game of Thrones is
mean more than
basically
three.
Game of Thrones is basically movies
Oh,
on
yeah.
HBO. Like it
Absolutely.
is such a film. Like
Oh.
what's going on?
Yeah, and they're an hour,
Yeah.
sometimes longer.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me. If you gave me a hour-long season of Knights of the Old Republic or some type of folklore way back when, 10 episodes. I'll even take 8 as long as they're done. I will lose my mind.
I don't know if I don't know if they're gonna do Knights of the Old Republic per se, but it's
No, I
gonna be
don't-
something very very
That's fine.
similar.
As long as it's like in that realm of like
It's like a medieval
old-
era of
Yes.
Star
Yes.
Wars.
Give
pretty
me
much,
that.
yeah.
Maybe even like as far back as like the Force being discovered, I will eat that up.
That would be incredibly interesting to see, and that might play into your Jedi.
Yeah,
thing.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If they do it that way, that's totally fine.
Because
with me.
we know that it's in all living things,
Mm-hmm.
but when was it? Who was it first discovered by? Was it a Sith or was it a good guy? Like, what side did that person go on, or were they even on a side? Like,
I would love
it's
to know what
very interesting.
I would love to know what created the light side with the Jedi, and then what created the Sith with the bad guys. What, even if it's like a two people that couldn't agree on something.
I
that-
could see it,
it would-
being.
oh,
I
it'd
could
be
see it
amazing.
being a Harry Potter style thing with the Deathly Hallows, where the three brothers.
Yeah, I could. see
And
that.
they're given something and they all go different routes where it's two people and
Yeah.
they split. One's
Yeah.
good, one's bad, and then it kind of just ventures off from there.
God,
It would-
It would be. Amazing.
I think it's happening. I don't know if it's going to be the introducing of the Force and where it came from, but I'm willing to bet every cent I have that Benioff and Weiss they're doing some kind of medieval type
That's
Star
fine.
Wars thing.
Perfect.
yeah,
Great.
like 1,000 years before our
I
current
think it's
timeline,
fact
something like
because it's such a cool contrast because right now we have the present stuff with 30 years that happened after Return of the Jedi. We have the stuff going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Favreau's TV show is taking place before The Force Awakens. So we have that time era. Benioff and Weiss, it's going to be a different era.
I hope so.
Something before the prequels because we've seen Rogue One, we've seen Solo. Those were in between the prequels and the originals. Go before the prequels. Like they're starting to plant seeds from all time.
Yeah.
Depending on how far it is, I'm not sure, but it's going to be a total different type of Star Wars.
And that works for me because that's what I want. I will never, ever, ever complain about anything between episode 1 and 9.
I
No.
don't want you getting ahead of yourself because I don't want you to hate it, man.
No. I'm just saying, like, I won't complain about them doing anything.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In
I see what
that
you're saying. I
time
gotcha.
realm?
I gotcha.
Oh, okay.
I gotcha.
I would like to see not keep going forward. I want to go backwards.
Well,
That's what
I think
would
they're
like.
starting to do that because we see Rogue One was close to A New Hope, then they went a little bit further with Solo.
Yeah.
We see a lot of comics and stuff
Those
coming
are
out.
both prequels.
Novels, exactly. We see the novels coming out in the
two
prequel
spin-off
era a
films
little
have
bit.
prequels, yeah.
I think they're starting to plant seeds to go back further. I think they
That's
just wanted to
fine.
get their feet wet a little bit.
That's
Remember,
totally fine.
it's only been 6 years since Star Wars was acquired by Disney. 6 years, and look at everything that's happened.
Yeah.
They need to get their feet wet with stuff. They know what's working. They know what's not working. And I think they're kind of now being a little bit more brave, and they're thinking, okay, we need to get people who are going to make us something completely different from Star
Yeah.
Wars. I think Benny, just imagine a White Walker army with red lightsabers.
Oh,
That'd be
if I
insane.
ever see an army with red lightsabers pop up, I will.
I
No,
think it's
that's
going to
what
happen,
they're gonna
dude.
give us.
That's
a
fine.
Jedi
I think it's
Sith-
gonna
But I'm
happen.
saying,
Yeah.
Sith war.
When I see that,
Yeah.
I am running into the
I don't-
streets.
Look, the
I don't
Sith
know-
were defeated at some point.
Well, I don't know when the time is going to be, and it's hard to tell, but I think it's going to be, this is the best way of explaining it, it's going to be before the Rule of Two. I think it's going to happen
Great.
before
We might even
the
see
rule of two. Yeah, maybe
get
two
created, yeah.
Sith stay
Or
alive.
Even if it's like the third movie in that trilogy.
What if Plagueis is one of the one that stays alive?
younger-
and he creates
Again,
the rule of two.
Plagueis.
Perfect.
Or
That's
Bane, Darth Bane.
Well,
Again,
if you
you're-
think about it, we
Darth
haven't-
Revan. Give
every-
me Revan.
Every story told in
That's been
canon
hinted.
hasn't gone out of like a 70-year period.
Yeah.
And that's such a short amount of time in the long existence of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Even if they go back 1,000 years, it has no connection to anything going on right now, other than like the mythology and the Jedi and how those traditions carried on.
Like you said, you're going to lose your mind about seeing an army of red lightsabers. I would absolutely lose my crap if Darth Revan was finally brought to the screen. Because he was teased in the Clone Wars in in that 4-episode arc about the Mortis stuff.
Yeah.
And
Andy was teased in Last Jedi.
Revan? No, I don't think Revan was.
The lightsaber.
His crystal. Yeah, you're right. His crystal. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, that's even
It
more
was
so.
called the
But
Crusader.
yeah, the Crusader's crystal. He is the apprentice of Darth Bane. Like, imagine seeing those two with all these other Sith fighting Jedi, like in medieval times. I would lose my mind.
So sick.
It'd be amazing.
An army of green and blue, and then an army of red.
It'd be insane. Or what if it was so far back that Jedi only had blue lightsabers? They never
it's
experienced green lightsabers or anything like that. Or what if they were all orange sabers or something?
Yeah.
No, white's for one person only, and just leave that alone. One person only.
Brian, I like what you said about the villains, because like we know Star Wars has great villains, but if you really stop and think about it, everybody always mentions like Batman has the best villains in comic books, right? But like Star Wars has some great villains.
Vader's considered the
Palpatine-
greatest villain of all time.
Palpatine, Vader, Darth Maul has become one of the most beloved villains ever, and then
Dooku.
They don't even have to be Jedi. Boba Fett.
Dooku was fleshed out in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, Boba Fett, Asajj Ventress, and then and honestly, a lot of people love
Hux.
Kylo Ren now.
Well, you have
too.
General Hux, who's kind of you have Snoke, who we have know nothing about, but he raised this First Order. Like, you have
Phasma's armor.
You have what's her name that's off in space from the Aftermath trilogy.
I'm reading it.
Yeah, it's like there's so many
Yeah.
things that
I forgot to bring her up, but when I mentioned Don't Shy Away from Canon, I specifically meant Ray Sloan.
I think she's going to show up, and it might be
Somewhere.
Favreau's TV show.
I hope so.
Somewhere.
It might be Favreau's TV show because it's in between Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. So we never know. All right, so for myself.
Can I throw one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to see Ahsoka on live action.
God damn it, Brian! You had to fucking open your mouth.
Sorry, that was my only one.
The one person I care about the most, and you got to ruin it. For
I
me.
knew he was gonna mention her. That's why I didn't. even
But
mention
here's
it.
so look, I got a lot of ideas rolling around for 5 years of Star Wars.
That was my
but
little last
I'll start
one.
off
There
with
you
this
go.
one. I'll start off with this one. So would I absolutely rush to the theater to see an Ahsoka solo film? Yes, I would absolutely adore to see that. Would I
push children?
I would.
away.
I would. I would love to see a Sabine and Ahsoka series, which I think is going to happen once the Clone Wars is wrapped up. I think it will, but where I want to see Ahsoka show up the most, my first choice would obviously be alongside Obi-Wan in an Obi-Wan movie.
Yes.
But I don't know if that will happen. Here's where I want to see her. She's flourished on TV. She's flourished in the Clone Wars. She's flourished in Rebels. I want a Maul and Kira TV show on the streaming service with Ahsoka being on their live action.
Stop it.
Here's why. One, Sam Witwer, he has voiced this character for an extremely long time.
Yes.
Okay? He is known for his work as a TV actor. He did Smallville. He's now on Supergirl. He knows these big budget shows. 2, Amelia Clark. Where did she get her start? Game of Thrones, a high budget TV show, which is exactly what Star Wars and Disney are doing with Favreau's series. They said that it's going to be more, it's going to cost more than Game of Thrones. She is open to doing TV if it's the right story.
I think she loves that character.
You can get a badass TV actress to play Ahsoka, who's not a mainstream film actress, who maybe doesn't want to take on that type of role. Someone who's a little bit lesser known, who can take on the role and be very excited about what this character can bring. Dude, if you did it can be called Crimson Dawn. It can be focused on Maul and Kira, but Ahsoka is out there growing the rebellion doing these little circuits and
Yes.
pockets of good guys, and she's foiling his plans of like Star Wars version of drug trafficking or Star Wars version of gangster stuff or whatever it may be.
Oh, a gangster.
I want to see her in a Darth Maul TV series on the streaming service, live action.
Dude, that makes so much sense.
How could you not do that?
Because here's the thing, they're not making a Solo sequel.
They're not.
They're not.
They're not.
And
Don't say that.
It kills me to
it's
say that.
unfortunately they're not. But the thing is, maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe it was. Look, they knew the streaming service was coming.
And Amelia Clark is a freaking Game of Thrones
That's what
actress.
I'm
It's
saying.
right there.
Look at what the crime syndicate lends itself so well to TV.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Darth Maul, you have Kira. Honestly, that's the best way to do it.
I honestly feel like she alone could carry a series on Netflix. Like
Ahsoka? Easily.
No.
Kira?
Amelia
No, she
Clark.
could.
Kira,
too.
I think she could too.
Well, a lot of people, that was their favorite part of Solo.
Yeah.
Sure.
People eat her. I myself, that was one of the biggest draws, if not potentially the biggest draw for me to Solo.
Well,
was
what
her.
if they never do anything with Darth Maul, it's going to suck, or Maul, I should say. It's going to suck because of the ending of Solo. But what if the plan all along was, we're not going to do a Solo movie. What if we go back in time and tell how Kira got off of home planet and rose to this
Corellia?
occasion of being in this gangster squad, basically, and being such a high up priority up there?
A TV show taking place after Solo would be dope.
No, taking place before.
Here's
Solo.
what you could do, because you want to see
yeah.
Maul, her and Maul, but you could do the flashback thing where it takes place in present day with her and Maul, but then
Yes.
it's flashing back to her time in between.
Imagine seeing an older Maul and an older Ahsoka after the events of Rebels on screen together.
I think
Imagine
that
that.
would be amazing.
That'd be
And with the
insane.
budget, the special effects, the lightsabers will look amazing. And the thing is, I think Kira will have more screen time than Maul in that type of show. But he can pop in.
He's like an overlord.
He can be a main side
he's like an
character
overlord.
who
Yeah.
shows up like every 3 or 4 episodes
Definitely,
or something
definitely.
like that.
He would be used like Vader was in the end of Rogue One. Just that. Like,
I think it'll be more than that.
yeah.
No, I know more than that, but I meant like that, like menacing looming that you're just anticipating.
Oh yeah,
waiting for him.
if you f up, you know who you're messing with.
Yeah,
Like you know what you're doing to yourself if you screw up in this organization.
yeah.
And if it's on the streaming service, like you can go a little bit past PG-13.
Oh,
like,
100%.
Look at like
Look
Iron
at Netflix.
Like Iron Fist
Yeah.
has so much violence in it.
Yes.
It's crazy. You can
Yes.
go that far with Star
Yeah,
Wars.
so that's just the start of what I want to see. It's not going to happen for a while because of the Favreau series, because of what the Benioff and Weiss stuff is doing. We mentioned the Ryan Johnson stuff. Obviously, Episode 9 coming out next year. There's a lot coming, and so I don't think it will happen anytime soon. Maybe, obviously, I think steps will start being aligned within the next 5 years
Yeah.
if it does happen. But as far as the film side of it goes, I don't think they should step away from the standalone films. I think the anthology films could be something really, really cool depending on what they do. I obviously want to see an Obi-Wan movie, but I want them to also step away and do something completely different from what we're known in Star Wars. Like, look, Rogue One was different, but it took place with what happened in New Hope. Solo was about Han Solo. Okay, Obi-Wan is going to be about Obi-Wan, even though we want to see it. I want to see something completely different from what we know in the Star Wars galaxy.
So not connecting to anything from the.
Yeah, I want something like a real standalone. Like a real standalone, not a spin-off per se, a real standalone Star Wars film.
yeah, they're definitely going to do that.
I think so. I want it to. I'm not going to say I want it to take priority, but I want it to happen sooner rather than later, personally.
I see.
As far as the saga movies, I love the idea about continuing it. I think they should. I think they can literally go to like 24 saga movies if they wanted to because of all the richness they've created. But I do think that there should be a break. I personally think that there should be a break, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm cool with that.
for sure, yeah.
Because it not only allows certain actors and actresses to age, but it keeps us wanting more. Because the thing that we've mentioned a couple times, and I think we'll mention more, but we'll never get that feeling of when The Force Awakens opened again. Like that feeling, taking a break could elevate that a little bit. Not to that extent, but it'll get us excited again.
Okay, I agree with you on that part. I don't think we will ever.
No, it'll come close.
No, yeah. I don't think we will ever
No, we
get
won't.
the feeling that we got when The Force Awakens
No.
because I don't think anyone ever expected Star Wars to come back.
No, not at all.
I personally didn't. So the fact that it was coming back, I'll never.
I see what you're saying though, Jake. The closest we could ever get to that is if they take a 10-year break from the saga
Yeah, like
stories,
let us
and
get
then
excited again.
Episode 10 comes out 10 years from now, and you see Rey back, and she's like in her 30s.
Let us sit on it and
crazy.
like want it more, because right now we're getting so much Star Wars, and average moviegoers, they just see the movies. They see them once every year. You know, they see them 6 months. This past year, but. For us who are involved in it, we read comics, we read novels, we watch TV, we see news going on, we speculate and theorize about what's going to happen. If they take a break, there's nothing to talk about. We are going to want more and want it again,
absolutely.
and it'll build and build, and then Star Wars will flourish again, where it's kind of been a little bit lackluster lately just because of all the controversy going on. I'm not saying stop it, but I wouldn't mind a break because it would allow us to breathe, it would allow us to theorize, have a little fun, and just kind of focus on other things. And then that moment they're like, oh my God, we're going to bring a Star Wars to you in 2030. That's 12 years from now.
Yeah.
We have 12 years to wait, but imagine that moment when that movie finally comes. Just imagine when that finally happens.
agree. I just hope they don't. I hope they don't say, "Look, we're never making it. We're not making."
I agree.
Episode 10.
I 100% agree.
I would be really upset if they.
I think it's going to happen because I think George Lucas had plans for it to happen, and I think they're going to stay true to it just a little bit.
And
And
you
the
both
thing
think
is-
it's going to happen? Because I don't.
Episode 10, it absolutely will. No other Star Wars movie will make as much money than episode to what they can put out. Like no spin-off movie or no side story is going to make as much money as episode 10 will. So they will make it.
If they do it,
Because that's what it's all about,
I
is the
feel like
money.
it wouldn't be for like 20 years. Like
Hell
it would
no,
be
that-
so long.
I don't know if 20 years,
Here's
but
the thing: the mistake they made. They waited so long to make Star Wars movies again, right? And imagine how many movies you could have made with Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and Luke Hamill when they were young. Don't make that mistake again.
yeah, they waited. So episode 1 was 99, so it was 22 years since the original, so 83 was Return of the Jedi, so it's under 20 years for that break. Then you go from Revenge of the Sith to episode 7, that was 10 years, and so that 10-year gap, like think about it, look at they could easily do a 10-year gap and just from the saga movies.
I'm fine with 10 years
Because
but
you can do so much more with TV. The comics and novels are still going to go. Just take a break from the film side of it.
You can let those characters develop so much over that time. Like Rey in 10 years from episode 9 is.
Well,
be so curious to see
also,
where she's at.
all of the stuff that's going on as far as imagine they take a
What if she's
10-year
6
break.
feet under?
They take a 10-year break from
Then Kylo better
next
not be
year
there. That's the case.
until 2029, right? It's a 10-year gap. You have the Benioff and Weiss trilogy in between then. You have Star Wars
No,
movies,
I'm
but the
fine with-
saga movies are
no matter what, there's not going to be an absence of Star Wars. There's
Never.
going to be the
Never.
TV shows and the movies are always going to be being made.
Not with it being Disney and the fact that they just built their own park for them.
No,
So-
Star Wars will always be around forever now. I'm not saying that stop all production of it, but I think you could easily get away with taking a little bit of break from the film side of it and let everything else sink in as far as the TV, the comics and novels, because it's Star Wars. It's always going to flourish. So for me, for the next 5 years, I want, after episode 9, I don't want to see a saga movie for the next 5 years. I want to, obviously the Benioff and Weiss stuff is coming. The Favreau stuff is coming. I want some kind of introduction or development on a Maul Kira series with the inclusion of
I
Ahsoka.
love that idea.
I think that's absolutely where she can live as far as live action. Ahsoka would be a huge get for a live action TV series. Do more comic stuff. I think venturing off into something new in comics, a great example is the Dr. Aphra stuff. She's become a huge part of comics and a very favorite character of a lot of people, and you could do that more. But my big thing with this is take a break from the saga movies, kind of let it sit. And if you want to sign those actors on, hey, come back in 10 years and we'll do something bigger, do it. Because I think it'd be awesome if they did so.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't talk a lot about because we've talked about it so much is Obi-Wan. But I just want to say really quick, of course, I want an Obi-Wan movie right away. I want it next year, but we're not going to get that. What's perfect with that is you have some time to wait because Ewan McGregor is only
older.
in his mid 40s. How old is he? He's in his mid 40s.
Probably in the 40s.
So even if you do an Obi-Wan movie in 10 years, it's still applicable because Alec Guinness was in
older.
his 60s or 70s when they made the first one. So it's like you can still wait on that. It's not like you have to worry about him getting too old.
Which I think that's what they're gonna do.
You're gonna have to
just
age
dying.
him up. If you made one right now, you'd have to age him up a little bit, depending
would.
on what time you made it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fan art. They do age him up a little bit, not as far as his face, but they lighten the hair up a little bit,
Which
give him a little older
it's
features.
crazy because you can make a movie from here on out any time between 3 and 4 and say he's the age he is in real life.
Yep.
It's crazy. So I'll be patient.
Yeah, I mean,
Will you?
It's going
There's
to
nothing
happen.
I can do. I don't have a choice.
It's going to happen at some point. He is.
It
out
makes
of
the most sense.
fans want Obi-Wan more than they want Episode 9 at this point. Like literally, after the Episode 8, because of the controversy with
Like
that movie.
diehard Star Wars fans, yeah.
Exactly, because they want to see Ewan McGregor back because he was the best part of the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best part of the
Easily.
prequels, and seeing him in a film again, 10 years down the road, in between those films, as far as what happened, because he obviously wasn't sitting on a camel or a Star Wars camel in the desert of Tatooine watching Luke grow up.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing stuff, and some comics have teased that. We've seen the Jedi book that he left for Luke in his hut and everything, and so he was doing stuff, and he's probably got a run with Boba Fett or something, and but I think that
Or some Inquisitors, because I want to
Yeah.
see him wave that lightsaber and
it's gonna happen.
some
man.
Inquisitors, because other, Vader's around, Emperor, but
Again, awesome bad guys.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, seeing the Inquisitors fleshed out would be really, really cool because they have some cool stuff going on in the Vader comic book right now, and seeing that kind of fleshed out would be
Here's
sweet.
the thing: what dilemma does Obi-Wan face if an Inquisitor finds him? Obi-Wan might have to kill them, even though he doesn't
Yeah.
want to, because he can't let the Emperor and Vader find him.
Yep.
And find Luke.
Very much.
So.
All right, well, those are our thoughts on the next 5 years of Star Wars and what we want to see. Each of us kind of giving our idea and thoughts of what we want to see personally, and kind of giving a little bit of discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we had a good time talking about this. It was a lot of cool things were thrown out there. Some very interesting ideas and theories as far as what can happen in the next 5 years. Obviously, we're nowhere near creative control of Star Wars, so who knows if it'll happen. But as diehard Star Wars fans, I think they do listen, and if they ever hear this, there you go. So, Jacob, Brian, thank you for joining me as always on the Padawan podcast, man. Grand Moff Barley and the Silent Assassin himself. We're going to be doing this every 2 weeks, so head back to our channel in 2 weeks and look for the Padawan podcast. We've got another cool topic coming up in the next 2 weeks. So head down in the comments. Let us know what you thought of us, of all of our theories and thoughts. What do you think the next 5 years of Star Wars can look like? Head down there. We will definitely reply. It's a topic that we enjoy talking about.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah, seriously, like what you think of our thoughts and what you possibly want to see in the next 5 years of Star Wars. So share, like, comment, and of course subscribe. Hit that subscription button. The more subscriptions equals more content on a daily basis for you guys, and we love doing it, and it only gives us more opportunities to do so. So again, boys, thank you for joining me as always, and thank you for joining us on the Padawan podcast. And until next time, may the Force be with you.